Okay, default box. Okay, maybe that'll work. I hate. Oh, you got me now? Yeah. Sweet. All right, cool. Thank you. Oh my God, what a nightmare. I hate. Sometimes OBS, the software gets finicky and you got to reset everything. So, okay, so we got sound. Yes, awesome. Hey, everybody. Thanks for bearing with me. What a freaking nightmare. I've had a long day. I've been washing buildings. Thank you, Jamie Trevino, the law. Thank you very much. I've had a long day washing buildings at the bottom of the state, and I got home and hurried up and rushed and got in the shower and ate and came down here. And as anybody knows that does live streams, it's not just plug and play. There's a lot that goes into it. So anyways, I posted a farewell kind of post in the Line 6 group earlier today while I was at work waiting for, water to catch up here. And I just posted kind of a farewell because I switched to Kemper. And a lot of people started asking me, publicly and privately, like, why did you switch? And I hate. You got me now? Now I'm getting. No. And now my phone's okay. Okay, sorry about that. My phone was talking back to me here. So anyways, a lot of people were asking me, like, why did you switch? And then I asked Chad, who's here. Hi, Chad. Hi, everybody. Would it be okay if I posted that in the group? And he said, okay, go ahead. So I figured instead of typing a long drawn out crappy post about why I switched, I might as well just go on here and talk about it on my channel, and hopefully that will answer some questions. And feel free to ask me anything you want. This is the place to do it. I'm going to be respectful to Line 6 and the product because I still think and always will think that the Helix is amazing. I think it's a great product. In fact, to a lot of people, it saved a lot of people from having to lug heavy gear around to go out and do gigs and studio stuff with and practices and what else. And I talked probably, and I'm not exaggerating at all, at least 30 people into buying a Helix, and I'm still glad that I did that because it's still working very well for all of them. No sound, just kidding. Oh my God. Okay, so anyways, I just wanted to go on here and just share what my experience was with it. And by the way, I want to put this out there too before I get started. There's guys that have done this. There's guys that have done this about other products on YouTube on their channel, and they've ended up having fake copyright strikes put against them because of them just speaking their mind about something, even if they've done it respectfully, and and it's really hurt their channel. So I'm going to put it out there right now that if anybody does do that because I posted this video, I'm going to let you know right now, you will freaking regret it. So don't mess with me on that. I will do everything I can to get it resolved, and then I'm going to come after you legally if you do it. So don't mess with me. If you're going to do that kind of crap, then get out of here now. I'm not going to put up with it. This is a respectful thing, and I'll pretty much know who you are if you do end up doing this because it's dirty pool and it's a dirty trick, and I will come after you with every single thing that I have legally, and you will regret it. So I'm going to put that out there right now. That's a little bit of my ugly side coming out. But I'm telling you, do not unlock the beast that lives deep in my soul. You don't want to meet that guy. Trust me. So I had to say that because I watched a lot of videos today about people speaking their mind about stuff, and they get all this fake outrage against their channel. And I'm telling you right now, don't mess with me. Don't do it. I'm not that guy. So anyways, I want to keep it respectful, and I basically want to say to all the people that have gone with Helix that, once again, it's a great product. It really is. some time ago, I went to the Gear Fest and the Sweetwater Gear Fest, and I went down there knowing that I was going to take something back with me to kind of remember the trip by. And I wasn't really expecting to buy a Kemper, but a few friends of mine told me that I should at least consider it. So I was like, you know what? I'm down here. I might as well make a big purchase and make the trip more memorable. So I just asked them, do you got a Kemper? They said, yeah, we got tons of them here. And I picked the one I wanted, took it home, and plugged it in. And immediately I found some stuff that I absolutely loved in the product. And after a little bit of time playing it, I actually found that personally for me, the high gain tones that were in the Kemper really spoke to me. They were very reactive, and they had more life in them. And once again, this is just me giving you my opinion. And I just found that there was more of that unbridled kind of rage that you get out of high gain tones that I really wasn't used to getting out of modelers. And I'm talking modelers in general, even the Axe-Fx products like that. It just didn't have that kind of unbridled rage that I haven't heard in a long time. And the Kemper really does that really well. It captures the tube feel and sound and all the character that they have in them, probably, in my opinion, better than anything else does. And it was undeniable to me. It really was. It wasn't something I could just ignore. I'm going to turn some of these, what is this, 49? I'm going to turn that down so you don't get all the hiss. That was one of the things that I really noticed first off, was the fact that the high gain tones really, in my opinion, had more life in them. And I'm a high gain guy, just as another disclaimer. I'm a high gain metal, prog metal kind of guy. That's what I do. And if you're in like to blues, jazz, and some of the really classic, and I'm talking like 70s, 60s kind of classic rock, it still, there is a difference, but it's not as noticeable as it is with the high gain stuff. So that's basically what I'm talking about here. And I just feel like the Kemper really captures the high gain stuff really well. Now, here's the other reason why I switched. The other reason why I switched is, as much as Line 6 does with the updates, and they do a good job with the updates. Okay, so let's say you get, and I'm talking, okay, let's just take it all modelers. If you go to a modeler, your typical modeler, you're going to get like an update of a new amp, okay, or maybe a couple new amps, but you're getting one version of that amp. You're getting whoever's doing the profile or the modeling of that amp at that company. You're going to get his version of that model of that amp. And I'm sure it's a good model, and I'm sure it's, it's done very well, and all that. But with what I liked about the Kemper is I can go and get 50 to 100 versions of that same amp from tons of different producers in tons of different studios with tons of different cabs and mics and everything else all over the world. And it costs me typically about $15, and I get several versions of that, which is really nice. And so I'm not stuck with just one guy's version of that amp. I can get any that I want. And I think that that's a great option for me, More rock and roll. What's happening, man? Thanks for subscribing. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Okay, let me read some comments here. Mike Francis says, I think it comes down for these companies that they are from two schools of thought on the customer's target. On the customer's target they are going for. My opinion, both are awesome in their field. No, they are. You're right. I mean, both are very good, both are very good in their field. and they do a good job. If they didn't, I wouldn't have owned the Helix for, I don't know, almost 3 years that I owned it. And I wouldn't have recommended it to so many people. Like I said, there's at least 30 people that I know of that got one because of me. And there's probably more than that I don't know of. And I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm just saying that I did sing its praises and still will. It's a great product. But more, I thought I was already subscribed. Oops. Yeah, I just saw the notification that you subscribed, so that's how I know. But yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And my next review is going to be about chicken picks. I just got them in the mail, and I got another review. Another company just sent me a package today that they asked me to review, which was really cool. I didn't even reach out to them. They reached out to me via Facebook, and they're like, hey, would you mind reviewing our product? I'm like, send it. So I just got that today. That shows I'm just grateful for my channel that's growing and it's getting some notoriety out there. I mean, not as much as a lot of people are, obviously, but I'm making some baby steps towards success here. When you get people asking you to review stuff out of the blue sky, it's kind of cool, Anyways, so I mean, there's a big difference right there. Like I can have any amp that I want at any given moment. With a flick of a switch and the swipe of a card, a lot of them are free, because you can go on like this rig exchange site and get any amp you want for free, or if you want to pay $15, which is a nominal fee, to get tons of profiles that are amazing, you can do that too. Instead of waiting for an update, I can have it right freaking now if I want, which is really cool, So, JJ's House of Jams, you definitely helped with my decision to buy the Helix. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate that. And once again, it's a great product. For a lot of people, it works really well, and I definitely would still recommend it to people and say at least give it a try, especially if you're afraid of technology. I would say the Helix is the first thing that you should buy. It should be minimally your gateway drug to everything else, if not something that you should stick with, because the user interface, and I'd be lying to say that it's not the easiest. It is. If you can't operate the Helix, then you need your head examined. I mean, it's the easiest platform to use, period. There's nothing else out there that's easier or more user-friendly than that. I mean, it doesn't get any easier than that. So, the grass may or may not be greener. It all comes down to players' needs. In the end of the day, I still use 2 Helixes, but I'm not happy about the amp tones on their own. I've bought so many IRs. Yeah, I mean, the amp tones are good, for the most part. They're good. But there's definitely a difference, especially if you're coming from the tube amp world and you go straight to a modeler. There's going to be stuff that you notice right away and that you're going to miss. It's something that it just can't be rectified yet. Excuse me. I'm not saying that it never will be, but I'm just saying for now, they haven't fixed that yet. Kemper's the thing that's come the closest, and it really has. I'm going to read some of these other comments before they scroll by. Brian Miller. Hey, Brian. For me, the Kemper is much easier to get the sound I want quickly. It's kind of true too, because you don't have to do as much tweaking. You get a profile, you put it on your thumb drive, you put it in the Kemper, and a lot of times it's good. It's just good, and it's just a matter of adding some effects or whatever or not, and just going with that. And there's not a lot of tweaking, which is really nice because it takes out a lot of the guesswork. You pull in a profile into the Kemper and it's pretty much, it's done. You can tweak it if you want to, but a lot of it's just there, Chad, very balanced. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to be as balanced and as fair as I can on this. I mean, I'm a fair guy. I'm a balanced guy. I don't bash products. I don't, my channel's built on integrity, and I want to keep it that way. I never want to be like the product bashing guy, because I just think that gets you nowhere. I just think honesty is the best thing that you can do. And speaking of honesty, if a company sends me a product and says, "Hey, review this," and if I really think it stinks, I'll tell the company, not the public. I'll just say, "Hey, here's some stuff if in my humble opinion that you should fix on this," and then send it back to me when you get it fixed. And I mean, that is if you value my opinion and it actually, is worth something. Um, send it back to me and I'll definitely give it a review. But I'm not going to go and I'm a business owner, so I would hate it if somebody bashed my company and put me under or made me suffer or lose out on money or jobs or business because of something negative somebody said. I just don't think that's right. So like I said, I'm not going to say anything bad about any products here. I'm just going to tell you what I think and why I might have liked one better than the other. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the product that I didn't like as much is as a bad product. Let's see. The law to convince myself and just isn't working. It's been about 3 years. For clean and low gain, it's great. Higher gain, no magic. Yeah, it's just that there is some magic there in the high gain with the Kemper. There really is. I mean, it's uh, it's got it all. I mean, there's really nothing lacking there. And like I said, the aggression and the rage, it's all there, and it's amazing. The Kemper is, in my opinion, and I've talked to a lot of people about this that have played through it, and other amps and other modelers as well. They say it comes the closest to tube amps out of anything that's out there. And in fact, most people can't even tell. If you don't believe me, go look at Chappers. Go on the Rob Chappers, Rob Chapman's channel, and watch him. I think it's on the Andertons channel. Watch him get confused and not even be able to tell the difference between the Kemper and his own signature amplifiers. And that fooled him. So, okay, more rock and roll. Helix just doesn't have any responsiveness on its own. And that breakup, like we heard on the Kemper isn't perfect, but it's quite close. Yeah, it captures the breakup perfectly. In my opinion, I guess I use the term perfectly loosely, but it's it's damn good. Chad, says to more rock and roll's point, it depends on your setup, but I do understand your point. Yeah, I mean, it does. It depends on your setup, but there's less tweaking that you have to do on the Kemper for sure. I mean, it's pretty much it's there. And if that particular profile doesn't work for you, well, you bought 60 of them of that amp. Just turn the knob again. You'll find one that does. That's exactly what I do. It depends on the cab and the mics and the amp that's used. But I mean, typically within a couple turns of the knob, you pretty much got it. And I'll be honest with you, most of the time when I find a profile I like, I don't touch anything. It's just done. Add my delay and my, whatever to it that I like to accentuate the things that I'm doing. And I'm pretty much there, So the law says there are a lot of guys happy with just an FRFR or power amp or monitor. For me, I play best when my amp makes my strings feel like they're bouncing off the frets. Helix doesn't have that for high gain. You throw that Helix in front of a tube power amp, though, and you have a deadly rig. It's the only way I'll run it. It murders. Yeah, I mean, the tubes in your amp will definitely help a lot with that. But here's the thing. I mean, conversely, and to be a little argumentative, but it's tongue in cheek. A lot of guys are buying these modelers and these profilers so that they can save space and time, and they don't have to lug around a heavy tube amp anymore. So, I mean, to me, if I'm going to go, I'm an all or nothing kind of person. So if I'm going to go with a product that's going to save me time and space and all that, I want it to do everything. And if it doesn't, and I have to bring, a bunch of other stuff along with me to make it do those things, then I might as well stick with what I had, So that, I guess that's kind of where I'm at. Now just for giggles, I actually got my Helix down here. A guy's picking it up tomorrow morning, so I figured I would do a quick little example for you guys. I have the HBE 100 model in the Helix, and I also have it in the Kemper. So what I'm going to do is play some riffs on each to show you the difference. Now, once again, some of you guys might like what you hear out of the Helix better and say, well, I'd rather have that. Well, good. Then that's why there's options out there. That's why there's 28 versions of Moose Tracks when you go to Kroger, your local grocery store, because some people just prefer this version of Moose Tracks over that version, and it doesn't mean they're right or wrong. It's just that's what they like, So I'm going to go ahead and play, what amp am I? Okay, I'm in the Helix right now. So I'm going to go ahead and play some riffs on the Helix, and you can hear it. Oh, you don't want me to tell you? Oh, okay, good idea. All right, so I kind of gave it away, but let me switch some things around here. You know what? I can't now. You guys screwed me up, or I screwed it up. So, all right, so this is this is the BE100 in the Mystery Machine. First of all, is the level good? Can you guys hear that okay? I could turn it up a little bit if you want. I'll turn it down just a little. Okay, now just, excuse me, this is a JP15. This is no joke of a guitar. This is a $3,000 guitar. So if something doesn't sound good with this guitar, then there's no hope. So I'm just putting that out there so that people don't think, oh, you're just using some crummy guitar. No, this is a freaking $3,000 guitar. So, if it's good enough for John Petrucci, it's good enough for anybody. Very dark string separation is non-existent. Take the blanket off of it. If they added high gain amps in the Helix, would that make a difference? Matthew Gregory. Hey, thanks for chiming in, Matthew. Yeah, I'm sure it would make a difference with some people. I think if you guys added a diesel, an EVH3, I'm trying to think of some other ones. At least those two, and maybe even John Petrucci's Mark II C+. If you added a bundle of those, that would make a huge difference. That's really what everybody's longing for. Because honestly, and I'm not trying to be the spokesman for the metal community or whatever, but I feel like, and this is with all due respect to Line 6 and everybody that works there, there's several Marshall amps in there, and metal guys like me, we don't even consider Marshall as an option. To us they sound thin and anemic and lifeless, and it's not because they were modeled that way. It's just because they're built that way. I've never heard a Marshall that I've liked ever once. They always sound thin and anemic to me. And there's this weird howl that comes out of them that I can't stand. So yeah, if you guys added, if they added some, some really high end, high gain amps, I mean, it would make a difference. But I also think that if they added that with a good gain stage, like something, it'd be cool is if you guys found a way to do like the EVH with the 6L6 and the EL34 option. That would be kick-ass. That's like a cool option for people so that they could be like, well, I wonder which one I want. So if you guys modeled them both and I don't know, somehow gave them a switch to choose between those options, that would be really cool. So, yeah, the diesels are nice. There's actually tons of diesels in the Kemper. So I mean, getting back to that, I mean, that's really what it is that you got, I can have any amp I want, any amp at any given time. I don't have to wait for updates. I can go online right now and download 300 amps tonight if I wanted to. And, so I can get Michael Britt's version of a EVH3. I can get Reamp Zone's version of it. I can get Sin Mix's version of it. And there's, I can get Live Ready Sound's version of a EVH. I mean, there's so many different versions. So like I said, you're not just stuck with one guy that modeled this amp. This is what you get. The only differences you can make with it is turn the knobs and change the gain and the EQ of the amp, and that's pretty much it. And I'm not trying to minimize that. I understand that there's a lot of work that goes into it. Please understand that. I'm saying this with all due respect. But with the Kemper, I can get, profiles of that amp in studios. I can't even afford to go in and use the bathroom, let alone record a session with some of these high-end producers. But they're creating profiles that they used in their world-class, world-renowned mixes, and they're selling these profiles for next to nothing that we can use. So that's pretty damn cool, and if I don't like that guy's profile, I can go to another place and get profiles that I like better of that same amp until I find the magic one that works for me. So that's the thing I really like. Hey, Michael, what's happening, man? Haven't seen you in a while. My favorite topic. Good to hear from you, man. Thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate that. More Rock and Roll says, like the law said, the amps need to be modeled well to make a difference. Yeah, they have to be. That's really what it comes down to. They have to be modeled well in order to make a difference. Okay. Warm chord music. Kemper also takes overdrive and boost pedals surprisingly well. I've had success with the Maxon and the Rockway Archer. Thanks for chiming in. Yeah, I haven't done any of the overdrives yet, except for the what was it called? The Horizon Devices Precision Drive, which did not work well with it. It sucked the tone right out of it, and I ended up selling it because it just didn't work. So Matthew Gregory, and once again, not disagreeing with you, I'm just saying with that particular pedal, it didn't work very well with the Precision Drive. Matthew Gregory, why Kemper over Fractal? Great question. I'm loving these questions, by the way, guys. Thank you very much. I really appreciate this because that's what this is all about. It's just to have a conversation, Basically, I went with the Kemper because I wanted to try profiling over modeling for once because I honestly feel that that method seems to work better. I mean, you have, I had a friend that had to have surgery once, and at the end of it, they were going to have the same result, but there was a scope type, and then there was this type where they have a robot go in, and then there's a type where they just cut you open, and, you're wide open, and then they do their thing, and then they sew you up. All of them have the same result, except the one we chose to do was for the scope, because there was one incision and the healing time was much quicker and there was way less pain, way less risk, and the robot was multiple incisions, and then the guy does it from a different room and he's operating this robot on a computer, and we were just not comfortable with that. So at the end, we chose to do the scope, and it was everything they said it would be. Again, all of these things had the same result, except we preferred the scope because it was easier and less healing time and less invasive, and the success rate was incredible. And it's the same thing. You got modelers, and you got different brands of modelers, so everybody's doing it a different way. And I just find that the Kemper is like the scope of how you do, amp modeling or amp profiling, because I think you have more options and more convenience and more variety, and there's no waiting. I'm not sitting here waiting for an update. Like, oh man, I hope they make the amp that I like. And it's and when it comes out, you're like, it's not the amp I liked, but let me see if I can work with it. Okay, well maybe you can, but the thing is though is like I said, I can go online tonight and I can buy. I'm not kidding you, probably 200 or maybe even more versions of one amplifier if I want. And I'm not going to do that because I think that's ridiculous, but I'm just saying that you can, and, I just think that is a killer option. And the thing is that the Friedman that I'm going to show you that's in the Kemper in a minute here is a modded Friedman. So it's a one of a kind. This guy modded the Friedman, and he did some changes to the circuits or whatever, and profiled it, and it's incredible. I mean, the thing's got. I'm a metal guy. Friedmans are good amps, but typically guys in metal bands, they don't use Friedmans. They use EVH and diesels and mesas and all that kind of stuff. And Friedmans are used occasionally in those types of bands with a Fortin overdrive in front of it or something like that, and it sounds great. But since this is modded and it's got a Fortin in front of it, not on this particular profile, but on the one I'm going to show you is a modded BE100, and it's insane. I just did a recording with it, and it came out really good. So I'll show you that in a minute. Before I do that, I'm going to go through a couple of these questions here. The law says it doesn't take overdrives well with the Kemper. I've only tried one overdrive, so I won't say it as a blanket statement, but with the Horizon devices, it sucked the tone right out of it. It just wasn't good. I hope that answered your question about why Kemper over Fractal, because I honestly think the Kemper, just the way they do it, is the best way that it can be done so far. And I don't like Fractal's interface. I can't stand it. It doesn't work for me. I know the Fractal 3 is out, XFX 3, and I'm sure that's much better. But I just went for Kemper, and I'm really glad that I did. Okay, so Brian, you're gonna watch the Rams game. I'll watch later. All right, cool, man. Well, thanks for stopping by. I hope you enjoy the game. Have a beer for me, buddy. Warm Chord Music said, I've had good luck with my personal ODs in front of my Kemper. I'm sure some do better than others. Yeah, I'm sure you're right. I'm sure there's some really good overdrives that work really well with the Kemper. Michael, I've decided to abandon full-blown modeling. Tried and found the workflow is too darn time-consuming. Sometimes when you can get overwhelmed with the options. Now, Michael, have you tried the Kemper yet, though? Because the Kemper is not a modeler; it's a profiler. It's a completely different kind of thing. And I think before you throw in the towel on all that stuff, you should definitely try the Kemper because it's sick. Mike Francis, would be cool if we could download amps and effects to use in the Helix, because there's a lot of them I never use in a practical situation. Yeah, it would be, and the thing is like I said, with the Kemper, you can download any amp you want. You don't have to wait for updates. I mean, you name it, it's out there. And not only is it out there, but there's hundreds of versions of it out there. So it's endless. You said feel. What feels different? Good question. The law asked me what feels different. As far as the difference between how they both feel is the helix. Obviously you can feel some things, and it definitely has a tone to it, and all that. But that being said, the Kemper, you can actually feel the pick digging into the string. You can feel the strings either feeling fatter or skinnier, or depending, whatever, depending on the kind of tone that you have dialed in. You can feel the reactiveness of the strings hitting the fretboard, and when you bend them, you can feel all that, and it literally does feel like you're playing an amp. There's nothing lacking. Matthew Gregory, regarding amp in the room feel, using the same speakers, do you notice a difference between the Helix and the Kemper, or that exclusively just the speaker you're using? Hopefully I'm answering your question right. If I need to clarify, please let me know. You're asking some great questions, guys. So regarding the amp in the room feel, using the same speakers, do you notice a difference between the Helix and the Kemper? Or that exclusively just the speaker you're using? Yes, I do notice a difference. There's more rage, and forgive the term, but there's more balls, on the Kemper. Once again, the Helix is good. It's good. I liked it for 3 years. I wouldn't have played it for 3 years if I didn't like it. But with the Kemper, what I'm feeling is there's like, gosh, I'm just trying to think of the right words here. There's like a reactive kind of back and forth, kind of like what we're having right now. I'm looking into a camera, but I'm looking over here and I'm seeing people type things, and I get to react with that. Where with the Helix, that the chat bar that I have on my screen is gone. If that makes sense, I hope that makes sense. Because, see, now I can look over and see what you're saying, and I can respond to that. And we can have a back and forth conversation. But with the Helix, it's kind of a one-way conversation. It doesn't mean it's bad. It's just with the Kemper, you get one more dimension. You get another thing. You get feedback. And I don't mean that in a squealy feedback thing, even though you can get that if you want. But what I mean is the Kemper's talking back at me. And I'm having a conversation with it. I'm having a back and forth kind of relationship with what I'm doing. And that's really what I like about it so much. I can actually feel the reactiveness of it more than I can on a modeler. And I'm talking Axe 8 too, because I played through one of those a couple times, and I couldn't get anything out of that. As far as I'm concerned, the Helix actually absolutely spanks the Axe 8. So that debate's been over with in my living room a long time ago. But I like the ones. Okay, so Mike Francis says, but I like the ones I have, but I do like the idea of what the Kemper can do. Intrigued. And Mike, I'm telling you, try one out and get some good profiles in it, because hey, you know what, there's some crappy profiles out there too, just like anything else. So don't judge it by a couple crappy profiles. Get some good ones and put them in there, and there's a ton of good ones out there that you can try out, and they're amazing. They really are. Okay, so the laws here. Yeah. Now I want a Kemper, Matthew says. Well, look, this isn't my intention here is not to make people switch, or I want that to happen organically, and I encourage people to buy whatever it is that they want to buy that's going to work for them, and I totally respect everyone's decisions, because in the end, if you're on stage or you're in the studio or at band practice or even in your living room practicing and you're enjoying the living crap out of what you're doing, God bless you, man. Do it, and don't let anybody judge you for that, because if you're enjoying it and you're getting everything you need to get out of it, then go for it and enjoy the living crap out of it. Seriously, it's the best, Do you think it is better than the X3? Mike Francis asks. I haven't played an X3, but I will say that I think, once again, that if I go back to my surgery reference, the Kemper is the scope option. In other words, it's the least invasive and has the lowest recovery time, and it's the one I prefer for those reasons. And I just feel that the Kemper has killer tone, and the response that I get out of it's amazing. I'll tell you a quick story too, and I'm going to get back to your comments. One of the things that I really liked is that when I go to the studio, I record at Zoinga, and Mick is our recording engineer, producer. And this guy's amazing. He's very, very good at what he does, and he's very meticulous about the guitar tones that he picks for the albums and stuff. And he does a lot of reamping, and he's had every amp known to mankind in there and every digital platform known to mankind. And he actually owns an XFX too and likes it. So I brought in the Helix and did some reamping a couple years ago, and even up to maybe even as soon as a year ago on some songs that I recorded there. And he liked it, but he's a very understated guy, and he doesn't get super like animated about things. When I asked him, I said, "Man, you should get one of these for your studio." And he was like, "Yeah, I got the XFX and I got some amps here, so, I'm doing pretty good." And I'm like, "Well, what do you think of the tone?" He's like, "Hey, man, it's a workable tone." And he's just a very nice guy. He's not going to say, "Oh, it sucks," or whatever. But if he thinks it's bad, he'll tell you like, "Hey, maybe we should tweak it or do something else," because I want this album to sound good. But he was pretty positive about it. But here's the thing: I brought the Kemper in for the latest song that I recorded with Mick. And I respect the hell out of this guy because he's amazing. He's one of the best producers. He's top 3 in the area. I mean, and producer and recording engineer. The guy's amazing. I brought the Kemper in there, and within seconds, when we were reamping, he was like, "Holy crap, the texture that is coming out of my speakers right now from this is absolutely astonishing." He's like, "I'm blown away." And I've never seen him get that animated about things before. He goes, "Can I play through?" Yeah. So he grabs his guitar and he plays through it. And he played through several different tones and profiles, clean, dirty, everything in between. And he was like, "Dude, I'm getting one of these." I mean, it was that quick and it was that definite with him. He was like, "I'm buying one." He goes, "Son of a bitch, man, this thing is absolutely amazing." He's like, "It feels so real." He's like, "You know how many amps I've had out in the amp room and listened to in the control room here that I've mic'd, and it's like I'll play it and listen to it, and it's like I've spent so much time tweaking." And he goes, "This thing has it. It just has it. I don't have to do anything with it." I said I can just pick a profile and do it. And the thing that he liked about it too is that since he's a studio, engineer and owns a studio, he can actually profile amps that he finds amazing from bands that come through there and keep those profiles and use them on other albums. And that's really cool. And for himself, he can use them for that same album, for that same band, and profile it several different ways and then find out later which one sounds best in the mix. So he's got all these options at his fingertips. So if you're a studio guy, Kemper is absolutely something you should own because you can profile any amp that comes through there and use those profiles forever, or download and buy profiles that it's needed too. So it's actually a really cool thing to own, Warm chord music, I had the XFX and thought it sounded pretty awesome, but I chose to go back to Kemper to stay focused on writing and recording. I was programming and tweaking way too much. Yeah, see, that's the problem with a lot of that stuff is that there's too many options. It's like you turn into that kid that can't pick what ice cream he wants at Baskin and Robbins because he's confused. I mean, he came in wanting Superman, and now he's seeing 30 other flavors that he can choose from, and we all end up like that sometimes. We're like, "Oh my God, I don't even know what I want anymore." Because with Kemper, yeah, you got to pick the amp that you want, the profile that you want. But with all these other ones, it's like you pick the amp you want, and then now you got to pick the IR. Well, should I go with stock cabs or impulse responses? Well, whose impulse responses? Should I get them from 3 Sigma or Own Hammer, or which company should I get them from? And it's more choices that is great, but sometimes too much to choose from can get really, that rabbit hole, there's like no end to it. And I've been there. I've been in that rabbit hole, and it sucks. Because after a while, you don't even know what's what anymore. You're so upside down. It's like being in a studio and mixing a song all day. After a while, it all sounds like crap. And you just have to leave and recharge your ears and come back the next day, you know? So, all right, so let's see here. Matthew Gregory, you guys, seriously, you guys are asking a lot of great questions. And if I didn't get to your question, please repost it because I definitely want to answer them all. Matthew Gregory's got some really good ones here, too. I appreciate this very much. What do you miss from the Helix that Kemper doesn't have or can't do? Great question. I miss the intuitive software. Because honestly, you know what my dream rig would be is if they merged the Helix interface with the Kemper tones. That to me would be insane because the Kemper is definitely usable and it's got a level of user friendliness to it, but the Helix is like if you have a closed head injury and the flu and you just stubbed your toe on something horrible, you can still operate the Helix pretty easily. But if that happened to you, the Kemper you're gonna have to sleep it off before you can operate the Kemper. I mean, I'm exaggerating to make my point, but the Kemper is definitely cool. There's some cool stuff about it. Now, here's my disclaimer. It's harder to unlearn another product and then learn a new product than it is to just go in not knowing anything and learn a product from scratch, with no preconceived notions or anything that you have to unlearn habit-wise or muscle memory-wise, So I will say that, but all that aside, the Helix is still definitely a much easier product to use. It really is. But that's why I guess I say it's the gateway drug because I think it's a great product, and if you're scared of tech, the Helix is really a good product to start with to get you in the tech world and in the modeler digital platform world because it's so easy to use. Let's see here. But other than that, I don't miss anything because I think the tones in the Kemper, especially for what I do, are better. They're noticeably better. Otherwise, I wouldn't have changed. And like I said, for my studio engineer to say what he said and to respond the way he did, that speaks volumes to me because that was the first time he ever said, yeah, now that I would buy, and I'm buying one, and he couldn't stop playing it and tweaking, the checking out the different tones and all that. And he was like, all of these are amazing. They're so real. And that was the thing that really sold, that kind of put the final stamp on it for me, was like when he said all that stuff. Because I very much respect his opinion. Okay, so I wish there was a way I can scroll back on some. I'll just read them here. Michael, with modeling, you often end up building a rig every single time, tweaking and adding it. Yeah, you're right. You really are. I mean, there's just too much going on sometimes. Jimmy Caffarella, sorry if I pronounce your names wrong. Line 6 definitely hit a home run on the interface and such because it's the one thing that keeps me 1 foot on the Helix in the Helix pond. Even though I'm having tone identity crisis right now, Kemper. Yeah, I'm telling you, the Kemper's sick. I mean, I'll play some stuff for you in a minute here, I promise, on the Kemper, and I'll do a quick back and forth for you. But like I said, Helix knocked it out of the park with the interface. The user friendliness of the Helix is it's like a coloring book. That's how simple it is. I know it came with that thumb drive for a manual. I've never even cracked that thing open and popped it in my computer. Didn't need to, so hats off to them. So let's see. The law for amp tones, more so than the Helix. If you want to play an amp, play an amp. If you want the closest thing on the market, get the Kemper. The Helix had the better UI, effects, and package Kemper amps. Yeah, I mean, here's another match made in heaven, too, though. HX Effects is amazing. They got all the great effects. And if you paired that with the Kemper, it would be a total slam dunk, home run, touchdown, and goal all in one. I mean, that would be like the rig to end all rigs, if you ask me. And I'm tempted. I might go with HX Effects. I know Kemper's coming out with some new effects soon, but that HX Effects is an amazing piece of gear. So all you guys out there that do have a Helix or that do have a Kemper, but you want more effects, HX Effects is definitely, without a doubt, the best option for you. It really is, because that is something I really enjoyed about the Helix was the effects. They were beautiful. Okay, thanks, Chad, for checking in. We have Eric's here from EVH and Gear TV. Hey, gang, I'm a high gain player and honestly beyond in love with the Helix. I have one preset I could live with for the rest of my life. The way I have it set, it's just like my big rig. Hey, like I said, if you like it, stick with it. I'm definitely not going to disparage anybody for playing anything. I mean, if it works for you and it makes you happy and it puts a smile on your face, do it. It just, like I said, I'm a high gain guy too, but I want some options, and I also want to be able to download anything I want at any given moment and try it out and have those options for me. And the Helix does have options, but I will say that the Kemper has, as far as amps go, endless options. I don't have to wait for updates. I can get them anytime I want. But like I said, though, if you're happy with the tone that you have, I God bless you. Enjoy it, and I'm not going to disparage that at all. I'm happy for you because I'm happy. It's just like anybody falling in love, like I'm happy you found somebody. I'm happy you found your forever soulmate. That's amazing. That you found the person that might not work for some other people, but they work for you. And no one has a right to disparage that, I will say, though, before you marry that soulmate, I'm using this as a loose, thing, but try the Kemper and do a blind test on them. And that's how I pick my tones for my recordings. I'll have them send me a mix with 5 different tones on it, and I'll blindly pick the one I like the best. And then after that, my studio engineer will review which one I picked, because I don't want to pick anything based on preconceived notions. I want to pick it based on what it sounds like in the song. So that's kind of cool. So I would, Eric, if you haven't played a Kemper, I'm not trying to talk you into switching or whatever, but just for your own fun, try it out. It's like going to a Thai food restaurant and every time you get pad Thai. Well, today, why don't you try the peanut curry just for, giggles? You might really like it, and minimally you enjoyed it this one time, and you can go back to your pad Thai next time and enjoy that too. So it's all good. And Eric, it's good to see you here. It's really good to see you here. Thanks for chiming in. Let's see here. Warm chord music. I'm still torn between the Mission and the Friedman FRFR for rehearsals and possible live events. I love the sounds and features I've heard from both. Still deciding. They're both great products. And it's another one of those things where you pick what works best for you. I've owned them both, and I think they're both great. They both have their pluses and minuses. For me, I really liked the features that the Mission had, and I liked how it sounded. For metal, I really loved that really full, robust, kind of roasted attack and sound that the Friedman had for metal tones, and ultimately that's kind of what I use most of the time, because that's the flavor I like. There's just tons of balls and fullness, and it shakes the walls. And I brought one to a guy's rehearsal space not too long ago, and he had a real drum kit, 2 other guitar players, a singer, bass player, and I had 1 cab in there, and it kept up with everybody, no problem. I had still plenty of headroom left, and people were blown away with how big it sounded. So let's see here. What are you running your Kemper through, Jared? I'm running it direct live, and I use these in-ears, which is the KZ ZS10s. Um, and I just unplugged myself from them. Hang on one second. We are live, so stuff's going to happen. There we go. So, yeah, I run it direct live, and at home I run it through the Friedman cabs, typically. So right now, it's plugged in direct. So, more rock and roll. HX Effects is unbeatable in the effects department. You're right. It's got everything. It's sick. And I've talked to the law about that too. Like, man, maybe I should just buy the HX Effects and add it to my Temple pedal board and be done with everything. And it'll be the one ring to rule them all at that point, in my opinion, because that's a killer combo. It really is. Let's see here. Leaf Wave. Hello, what's happening, Leaf? How you doing, man? Matthew Gregory, are you still using your Temple pedal board? Yes, I am, and I freaking love that thing. You can look on my Facebook page, and there's some pictures of it. I bought when I bought the Kemper, I bought an arm. It's an arm, articulating boom arm for it. So now I can raise the Kemper up to like kind of like waist level when I'm sitting on the couch, and I can tweak things, and I don't have to bend down and lay on the floor to do tweaks. And that arm is really cool, and it holds it up perfectly, and it actually looks kind of cool. So it looks like the Pixar light, in their logo, but it works, and it's bolted to the Temple board. And that's what I like about the Temple board is you can affix anything to it, really, because there's so many holes. You got all these options. Everything fits. So it's really cool. Let's see here. The law asks, why do you think Line 6 won't release high-gain models like the other contenders in the market? We get weird amps that they model instead, or too much of the same flavor. The placator, yeah. Okay, so that's actually, I understand that statement, and I appreciate you bringing that up, because we've talked about this before in private. And I'm saying this with all due respect, as the law is as well. Now it's easy for me to be an armchair quarterback, right? So please keep that in mind. I'm armchair quarterbacking a little bit here, but hey, that's what this is about too, is for we can all learn, including myself. I think that Line 6, in my opinion, my humble opinion, should have put out the Holy Grail amps first. All the metal guys love the EVH3, the diesel, and I've drawn a blank right now, but there's a bunch of other ones that they could have put out, like the EL34. There's some different Mesa amps they could have put out, which they did. They have a couple, but there's some other ones. There's several versions of the diesel amps. The Fortin amps. There's a ton of them out there. That they could have put out, and it just seems like, and then after that, do like some one-offs and some kind of like quirky amps. I think that would be really cool. Because at that point it would be more exciting for the people that own the Helix to be like, oh, what's this kind of one-off kind of oddball amp? I'll check it out for sure, But because they've been kind of served the staples and all of the stuff that they want, they're more apt to want to venture out and try things that are a little different, as opposed to, here's your one-off, but okay, but where's my where's my Holy Grail amp that I've been waiting for? Yeah, that one-off's kind of cool, but I kind of want that first, and then give us the one-off type stuff. I think that would have been a better plan. Once again, all due respect, but I just think that a lot of it's based on maybe there's like a demographic study been done, and we're better off putting out more classic rock and low gain amps, and for the worship guys and blues players and this and that, and the metal guys are just going to have to wait, because maybe their genre is just not as popular as some of these other ones, or I don't know. But all I know is most of the people I hang with and jam with and talk to are metal players. And so, in my perspective, I think that metal is bigger than maybe what other people think it is. It all depends on the circle that you're in, you know. But I honestly think that it would have been better. It would have been better for them to put out more metal amps because, I mean, if you got like 10 Marshall amps, I don't know how many are in the Helix. I don't know, but they just all kind of sound kind of anemic, and they all sound generally the same to a lot of guys, including myself. And after a while, you have like a couple of amps in the Helix that you can go to with if you want to use a metal amp, and some of them kind of sound really similar. So I'm not saying that's Line 6's fault. I don't know whose fault it is. I'm not pointing fingers here, but they do kind of sound similar. I don't know why, but they do. And so it'd be nice to have some more flavors per se, for the metal guys. And once again, that's one of the biggest reasons why I switched to Kemper is I can have any metal amp I want at the push of a button. They're all at my fingertips, and I can have, hundreds of versions of that amp. So it was just an easy decision for me. Not everybody wants to get caught up in all that, but for me, it just seemed like the better way to go. So let me read a couple other things. Hey, Myers, what's happening? Snack Packs here. Friedman or bust? Yeah, that Friedman patch, the Friedman thing in the profile in the Kemper is amazing. I'll play it for you in a minute. Let's see. Just going through comments here. I want to keep up with everybody, not leave anybody out. Well, I don't think it will ever be. It's a model. The crack. Yeah, I can have a Kraken in the Kemper right now. I get tons of it. Tons of Kraken options if I want them. Leaf Wave. Oh, that's a good point, Leaf. Wish they would release a Kemper floor. That would kill a lot of projects. You're onto something there. That would be cool. I would have bought that. If the Kemper came out with a floor, I would have bought that over anything else because I think that's a great option. I really do. Warm Chord Music. I have a very similar experience with my friend and owner of Woodshed Studio. He's always been a skeptic of the Kemper until we did some profiling of my new Rev during a session. He's now a believer. Yeah, in fact, speaking of the Rev, I'm doing some reviews for somebody on the Rev very soon. And in fact, he just sent me the links earlier, and I'm definitely going to look forward to checking that thing out. Pardon me while I drink my fresh squeezed juice here. I'm on a diet. I got to lose some weight, so I'm juicing and drinking ultralight. But yeah, I can't wait to check out the Rev. I heard it's a really badass amp. Okay. More rock and roll. That's the entire point of this. I don't hate Helix, but they need to actually take in our feedback about this stuff and also not make stupid jokes of what people want. And he also says, I gladly use the Helix if it could do the job that my modded EVH EL34 does. I dragged my amp out of college because I love it so much. If Helix satisfied my needs, it would have gone for college. Yeah, I mean, the EL34, I do have profiles of it in here. And I had a buddy over. In fact, Myers, if you're still here, chime in. Myers was here, and he owns the EL34. And he played through my version of it here at my house. Was it like last weekend or the weekend before? And you loved it. I mean, you thought it sounded great and felt good. And, and I had other profiles that I got to... I have other profiles that... from Live Ready Sound that I'm going to put back in my Helix or my, my Kemper and try those out, of the EL34 EVH, and they're amazing. That's one of my favorite amps. So, okay, I've been blabbing long enough. Let me do something real quick. So I'm going to play something. You guys just tell me which one you think sounds better. Let me do just a simple chord arrangement here. Okay. I gotta turn my volume back up. So what you just heard was the Kemper's version of the same amp that I was playing in the Helix, which is the the BE100, and I just think it's got so much life and so much rage, and just it's beautiful. It's just so nuts. I could turn the gain up or down on it. I can adjust things if you guys want. You tell me what you want me to do, and I'll do it. But everything's at 12 o'clock on it, just like it is on the Helix. It's the same exact settings. So, and I know there's cabs and IRs, and there's other things that can change things around and all that, but I'm just giving you a general idea. Was the Kemper peaking? It's compressed on the stream. Let me check. Yeah, it was a little bit. I just turned it down a hair. So that was probably better. I'm looking at the level. It's definitely a healthier level. Yeah, it's a beast. I just did a cover song with a bunch of friends of Shoot to Thrill by AC/DC using that same patch or that same profile on the Kemper, and it's freaking sick. It sounded so badass. Yeah, so, Myers, we call him Snack Pack. He just did profiles of both EVH 50-watt amps at a studio, and according to the guy that did the profiles, Paul, they turned out really good. I haven't heard them yet, but see, that's what's cool too about having the Kemper is that if you're a touring musician and you love your amps, but you just you got fly dates and all that kind of stuff, and you just can't bring all that stuff with you, and it's not going to be in a backline. Well, have your amps profiled, take them with you on a Kemper, and they're going to sound amazing. That's really all you got to do. And a lot of people just do their own profiles. It's not rocket science. I mean, it's not hard to do. And with a little bit of tweaking and some, good mics. I mean, you can get your amps profiled by yourself or at a local studio for very cheap. And a lot of times local studios will do it for free because they want to keep the profiles. So, and you brought in a killer amp that they can't access. So it's kind of a trade-off for them. So, and, Rob Chapman does it. He's got his own signature amps, and he takes profiles with them on tour now. And there's a video on YouTube about him not even being able to tell the difference between the profile of his amps and his real amps. And these are his signature amps. So that speaks volumes right there. So yeah, warm chord music. I definitely thought about picking up the HX effects to pair with my Rev versus investing in a bunch of pedals. I'm not a huge effects guy anyways. So to have all-in-one solution is ideal. Dude, I'm telling you, that's a great option. The HX effects, it definitely is legit. It's a wonderful piece of gear, and I don't know anybody that wouldn't like it. It's killer. In fact, once again, I'm thinking about pairing it with the Kemper because I think it'll work really well with it. The Law says HX effects is sick. Want one someday. P.S. Yeah, had too much level before. Consistent now. Thank you. Yeah, so this sounds better. And that cuts through a mix so nice. Sorry about the camera angles here, guys. This is a big rush job, so I'm doing the best I can. Yeah, I mean, like I said, you guys that love the Helix and you guys that love the Axe effects and you guys that love, whatever, the head rush or, the Boss, they got the new Boss pedal out and all that. I mean, honestly, I've been hearing about Kemper for years and I've just ignored it and it just wasn't on my radar. But the day I plugged into it and really gave it a go was the day I learned some things, and like I said, not trying to switch your mind around or change your mind or anything like that, but I would tell anybody, just like when you go house hunting, you're not going to just walk into the first house that you see and, oh yeah, this is great, let's buy it. I mean, you're going to see like 50 houses before you buy one. And that's what I would suggest that anybody does when you're checking out modelers and you're going to spend over $1,000 on one. Try out, at least 5, and try them all on the same cab so that you have a good reference on what you like and what you don't like. And then buy the one that works best for you. If somebody came up to me tomorrow and said, yeah, I saw your YouTube video about why you switched, and I still really love my Helix, I'd say, hey, man, good for you. I'm glad that you love your product, and I'm glad that it works for you and that you find it inspiring to write with and record with and perform with. And if that really does work for you, then stick with it. I mean, because at the end of the day, you're the one that's got to use it, and you're the one that's got to perform with it and trust it. And I think they're all good. And I think I talked to Chad on the phone not too long ago because I was buying some stuff from him, and he's like, they're all good, and he's right. They're all good. They all have their things about them that make them good. And if you like what you have, then stick with it. But once again, before you make a decision, try them all so that the one that you own is the one that is best for you. That's what I would always suggest for everyone. So anyways, well, I'm the guy with the Rev. Oh, okay, warm chord music. Okay, so you're the one that sent me the profiles to try out. That's the thing about YouTube that confuses the living crap out of me is like, everybody's got an alias, so it's like it's hard to hey, thanks for stopping by, Eric. EVH Gear and TV, or EVH and Gear TV. Cheers, buddy. Thanks a lot for tuning in. I appreciate it very much. He's got a great channel over there, and he interviews a lot of really cool rock stars. So if you get a chance, check him out. So yeah, so Warm Chord Music, you're the guy with the Rev profiles that sent me. Okay, have a, yeah. So, like I said, I get confused on people's names sometimes because everybody's got an alias. Like my alias on here is Tone Wars, so my name's Jared though. So that's just the way it works sometimes. But anyways, I'm gonna play through these both one more time, and then I'll wrap up with a couple of statements and comments here, and then we'll all have a couple beers and enjoy our evenings. So here again is the Kemper, the Friedman BE100, patch or profile or whatever. Freaking fantastic, All right, let me turn the volume down on this. Okay. Yeah, both of them sound good, but in my opinion, the breakup on the Friedman on the Kemper is legit as hell. I mean, there's no denying that the breakup's there. You got that nice, crumbly top end kind of breakup, and that character, and like what Mick said, my engineer and studio producer said, the texture. And I really think that that's probably the word of the night is texture. There's more texture in the Kemper. Excuse me, and once again, these are my opinions, and I'm not bashing anybody, but I just found that there's more texture there, and it actually comes through in the mix better. There's good tone in the Helix, and there's definitely some good tones in there and stuff, but there's the texture, the feel, and the rage, and the crumbly breakup that the Kemper captures is unmatched. It's just freaking amazing, So the law, what if the realtor is paying you to look at the house and tell your friends? Yeah, I think I know what you're referring to. I mean, there's definitely, let me just say this, to clarify my opinions about some things. I'm not paid by anybody. Nobody pays me anything to say anything good about their products. I'm not on somebody's payroll. I'm not getting a check. I'm an independent thinker, an independent blogger, and an independent vlogger, and YouTube creator. Nobody is lining my pockets with anything to make them sound good and to praise their names. And I will never accept money to do that, because at the end of the day, my channel is built on integrity, and I want people to buy things or make decisions on what they're going to go with, because that's what I do. I review gear, and I'm not here to worship gear. I'm here to review it. And at the end of the day, when you come to YouTube, just like I do before I buy something, I want somebody's honest, unpaid opinion about a product so that I can go out and make an educated decision based on the opinions of people that I trust and I've learned to trust over the years. And there's people I will go to before I buy something, and I will take everything they say, obviously with a grain of salt, because everybody's different, but I will make a decision and weigh that all in with my own opinions about it. But I don't ever want to be that guy that is paid to say a product's good. I I think people that have channels that do that have zero integrity, and I think it's a joke. Because you're not really a gear reviewer, you're more of a gear pusher. And I never want that. I just got gear in the mail today from a company that reached out to me via Facebook. They found me and said, "Hey, we got some new products coming out. Would you be so kind as to review them?" Well, I was floored and flattered and everything else, and I was blown away that these guys would actually trust me to do that. And I'll definitely give it a fair, honest review. But they're not paying me. They're sending it to me, and I get to keep the product and everything, which I think is really cool. But I'm not going to be the guy that cashes in on helping other people make bad decisions. If I think it's not good, like I said earlier in the broadcast, I will go to the company and say, "Hey, thanks for sending me this. I really appreciate that. And out of respect for you as a company, here's what I think. I think it needs to improve in these areas, and I don't want to disparage you on the internet. I don't think that's fair. So I wanted to tell you first and give you a chance to make those changes. And when you do, send it back to me, and I'll be happy to review it. And if I think it's there, I'll go up and say, yeah, this is great. Now, if I think a product's good enough to bypass that and to review and say, hey, I really think this is a great product. And if there's a couple of things that I'd say, well, I wish they would have kind of done this with it, I'll do that, because it's just my opinion. And maybe not everybody will agree that maybe they should do those things, but it's just my way of saying, yeah, buy this. And by the way, here's a couple of things that I think would be really cool if they did with this product. And if that company sees that and they go, you know what, we didn't ever thought of that. It's still a good review. It's still positive, and it's still got some constructive, positive criticism. And maybe next time they come out with the next version of that product, they'll add those things to it and make those changes and make it even better. And that's really what this channel is all about. It's about integrity. It's about being real with people. It's about being respectful of other brands and of my subscribers and myself, and just doing right by people and not lining my pockets to do damage control for companies that put out products that should have been improved before they got released. And that's not my job. I'm not Mr. Damage Control. I know there's channels out there that do that, and I think that's really crappy, but you won't get that here. I will be upfront and honest with you, just like I was tonight. And I'll be respectful, just like I was tonight, about everything that I say, because once again, I'm a business owner. I don't want people saying bad stuff about me that would cost me money or make me look bad. But if people are going to ask me my opinion, I'll give you an honest but fair and balanced, I sound like Fox News, opinion of what I think, and I'll try to be respectful to everybody involved. So here, Michael. Yeah, I mean, it's just, I'm just trying to be cool with everybody, I mean, like I said, I don't want to be negative and play dirty politics with people. It's just not right, The law, like my YouTube review on pickups yesterday, I took it down to insert a disclaimer to say, hey, it's probably isn't for everybody, but here's what it does do well. Yeah, that's what you got to do, is just be fair, because, the funny thing I've found is that people might make some decisions and follow you for a while based on what you say, even if people are lining your pockets. But it's just a matter of time before all that stuff gets around and people start losing faith in you and saying, well, the last 3 products I bought because that guy said were good, they weren't really as good as he said they were. And after a while, people start smelling something stinky in the air. They're kind of like, yeah, this guy's getting paid. It's kind of like doctors prescribing drugs to patients that really aren't the best choice for them. But hey, the drug companies lining their pockets and the backside of the deal, and there comes this time where the integrity's out the window and people are getting sick off of this crap. And after a while, that doctor, they find out, and that guy's up on charges, and I know that's kind of an extreme case, but I don't ever want to be that guy. I really don't. I feel that what I said about the Helix tonight is fair. I feel that I would still recommend it to people, and I would say that it's a great product. The interface, again, unmatched. It's the easiest interface on the planet. I don't think you can make it easier. They did a killer job on that, and it's a good product. But if you're looking for what I was looking for, more amp options and configurations. Instead of waiting for updates, you can get them at any given time from any studio in the world. And you can profile them yourself. That's the thing I like too. I can make my own profiles if I want. Excuse me, but if you're looking for more texture and a little more realness, the Kemper's it. I mean, it just is, and that's just my opinion. And if you don't believe me, try it out for yourself and see if I'm right or wrong. And you might find that for you, the Helix is a better choice. And if it is, hey, God bless you, man. If not, then make the other choice. Either way, pick what works for you. Well, hey, I want to thank everybody for watching. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. I look forward to doing more of these in the future. Once again, I got a review of chicken picks coming up and some in-ear monitors that I just received today coming up and some other stuff. So stay tuned for that. And thanks again for stopping by. And I'll see you on the next one.